I have never understood why it is greed to want to keep the money you have earned, but not greed to want to take somebody else's money. When you want to help people, you tell them the truth. When you want to help yourself, you tell them what they want to hear. It's amazing how much panic one honest man can spread among a multitude of hypocrites. People who pride themselves on their complexity and deride others for being simplistic should realize that the truth is often not very complicated. What gets complex is evading the truth. The first lesson of economics is scarcity. There is never enough of anything to satisfy all those who want it. The first lesson of politics is to disregard the first lesson of economics. Much of the social history of the Western world over the past 3 decades has involved replacing what worked with what sounded good. The problem isn't that Johnny can't read. The problem isn't even that Johnny can't think. The problem is that Johnny doesn't know what thinking is, he confuses it with feeling. Intellect is not wisdom. Some of the biggest cases of mistaken identity are among intellectuals who have trouble remembering that they are not God. Racism does not have a good track record. It's been tried out for a long time, and you'd think by now we'd want to put an end to it, instead of putting it under new management. Socialism in general has a record of failure so blatant that only an intellectual could ignore or evade it. There are only 2 ways of telling the complete truth anonymously and posthumously. Despite a voluminous and often fervent literature on income distribution, the cold fact is that most income is not distributed. It is earned. It is amazing that people who think we cannot afford to pay for doctors, hospitals, and medication somehow think that we can afford to pay for doctors, hospitals, medication, and a government bureaucracy to administer it. There are no solutions. There are only trade-offs. When people get used to preferential treatment, equal treatment seems like discrimination. Since this is an era when many people are concerned about fairness and social justice, what is your fair share of what someone else has worked for? Freedom has cost too much blood and agony to be relinquished at the cheap price of rhetoric. The fact that the market is not doing what we wish it would do is no reason to automatically assume that the government would do better. Bailing out people who made ill-advised mortgages makes no more sense than bailing out people who lost their life savings in Las Vegas casinos. The most basic question is not what is best, but who shall decide what is best. The fact that so many successful politicians are such shameless liars is not only a reflection on them, it is also a reflection on us. When the people want the impossible, only liars can satisfy. Competition does a much more effective job than government at protecting consumers. If politicians stopped meddling with things they don't understand, there would be a more drastic reduction in the size of government than anyone in either party advocates. Virtually, no idea is too ridiculous to be accepted, even by very intelligent and highly educated people, if it provides a way for them to feel special and important. Some confuse that feeling with idealism. Rhetoric is no substitute for reality. One of the sad signs of our times is that we have demonized those who produce, subsidized those who refuse to produce, and canonized those who complain. It doesn't matter how smart you are unless you stop and think. Life does not ask what we want. It presents us with options. What is history but the story of how politicians have squandered the blood and treasure of the human race? We seem to be getting closer and closer to a situation where nobody is responsible for what they did, but we are all responsible for what somebody else did. It is hard to imagine a more stupid or more dangerous way of making decisions than by putting those decisions in the hands of people who pay no price for being wrong. It takes considerable knowledge just to realize the extent of your own ignorance. Don't you get tired of seeing so many non-conformists with the same non-conformist look? If you are not prepared to use force to defend civilization, then be prepared to accept barbarism. Liberals seem to assume that, if you don't believe in their particular political solutions, then you don't really care about the people that they claim to want to help. Each new generation born is in effect an invasion of civilization by little barbarians, who must be civilized before it is too late. The welfare state is the oldest con game in the world. First you take people's money away quietly, and then you give some of it back to them flamboyantly. One of the first things taught in introductory statistics textbooks is that correlation is not causation. It is also one of the first things forgotten. It is usually futile to try to talk facts and analysis to people who are enjoying a sense of moral superiority in their ignorance. Everyone may be called comrade, but some comrades have the power of life and death over other comrades. Ronald Reagan had a vision of America. Barack Obama has a vision of Barack Obama. The first lesson of economics is scarcity. There is never enough of anything to fully satisfy all those who want it. The first lesson of politics is to disregard the first lesson of economics. Extrapolations are the last refuge of a groundless argument. One of the common failings among honorable people is a failure to appreciate how thoroughly dishonorable some other people can be, and how dangerous it is to trust them. People who enjoy meetings should not be in charge of anything. When people are presented with the alternatives of hating themselves for their failure or hating others for their success, they seldom choose to hate themselves. No matter how much people on the left talk about compassion, they have no compassion for the taxpayers. Age gives you an excuse for not being very good at things that you were not very good at when you were young. No one chooses which culture to be born into or can be blamed for how that culture evolved in past centuries. Reality does not go away when it is ignored.